Hello and welcome back. My name is Crashy, and wow, it has been a minute since I have done a kind of commentary topic like video. And today I kind of want to talk about the kind of current state of competitive Fortnite and like how I perceive things, what I want to see happen, and overall just kind of like how things are going. And I want to do this while kind of like leaning blame and kind of shifting blame around for like the state of things, but not in like a really harsh way, but just by kind of like talking about how I perceive things and like why I think things are the way they are. Now, to kind of preface this discussion, I want to say that like currently competitive Fortnite is in a bit of shambles, and what I mean by that is that like there's no real clear path for new players, amateur players, you know, like, I mean, even professional players to go anywhere. Like, there's nothing really to do right now. Everybody's just kind of in this state of like limbo where we're all just kind of practicing, and even like the state of practice is really what's in question in this discussion, because the state of practice is just really odd and it's like not really working, and that's really what we're talking about here today. But what I mean initially is that there's just really no path right now. There's no qualifiers coming up. There's no big event. There's no details on World Cup, and we're all just in this waiting mode, and that's fine. You know, whatever it is, what it is. It's just a little unfortunate that because of that, there's not a good scenario for us to practice and prepare, and the infrastructure that we need to kind of set up some of those things isn't really in place. Now, this brings me to my point of talking about how Epic Games specifically has kind of fostered the demand for the competitive scene. I put this a really similar kind of response on Reddit to a thread I saw earlier. It's not really relevant, but I'm going to use some of the same verbiage. And basically, I don't really think that Epic Games has fostered the demand for a competitive scene within Fortnite properly. Now, everything we had in terms of skirmishes, even like the Friday Fortnite Keemstar thing, I mean, pretty much everything except for like PAX and Winter Royale has been not perfect in terms of competitive. We had a lot of content creators, a lot of invite only. Fall Skirmish was more or less invite only. Getting into TwitchCon was crazy lucky. I mean, even for myself that got to play, it was just luck. I mean, it just kind of happened. And the only real qualifiers we've had have been at PAX and for Winter Royale. And unfortunately, with Winter Royale, I didn't personally like the way they ran the qualifiers. I thought it was just like, it's just crazy to open up that huge long window, and that's a totally different discussion. And then, of course, unfortunately, the Winter Royale finals was kind of a joke too, which kind of almost discredits the qualifiers in a way, because it just sucks, man. Like, it was just a botched event. Like, it just was, the sword was put into the game and everybody's just like, what are we playing? So outside of like a couple of things, the professional and competitive side of Fortnite hasn't really been done the best. And even now, there's not really a solid infrastructure for players to kind of make the steps, or like take the steps, you know, necessary to grind up. The best things out there currently for resources are getting into FNPL scrims. If you're brand new, you just jump in, you start scrimming, you start playing with your friends or people that you find online, and you start like learning the ways to get into things. But that is like a means to an end, and definitely has like a certain point where it just doesn't really pay off, and it isn't going to do a whole lot, unfortunately. So you know, that's good, but it doesn't do a whole lot in the bigger picture. Now, I still think, and it has been this way for a while, and I don't know why this kind of like fell through the cracks for some people, or it seems like it did. I still think that the best thing you can do if you're like an up and coming player is just consistently try to play in FNPL leagues and make a name for yourself. And this is we're gonna cycle back around to this as well. But the reason I say that is because FNPL league is all about placement consistency. You can't do anything with kills in these kind of snipe lobbies. So it just shows that you're consistent enough as a duo, as a team, as a player to make it to endgame, and that's really important. And even with the introduction of like FNPL ranked, like technically, I really don't play them that much, but technically there's room for a player to make a name for himself by grinding that league as well, or that ranking ladder, just because it has a place for you to see progression. Like, it's actually a leaderboard that you can see progression and you can see changes, you know, to your rating. And so things like FNPL are actually a pretty decent resource. Where things get really muddy is the fact that there's been this disconnect and like I don't know if it's based on a power struggle. I don't really know how it all came to be, but there's this disconnect between all these different Discords, and everybody knows this by now. There's been West and Things, Westworld, Endgame, Endgame Private, East Royale, Pratt Cord, now East Cord. We have F and PL. I mean, I can't even list off some of the other ones. I mean, minus the kind of like miscellaneous like content Discords like T-Fault or like Nick Merckx's cord or any other potential cords like that. There's just been a really big awkward split between where players are supposed to go, what's the most reliable and most important, most relevant place to you know, try to foster their talent and try to improve. And that's why we're in this kind of like situation we're in now, is because it's just been really muddied. Now, I don't put a like blame on the players or the management or the people that have been trying to throw these things together, because naturally and like more often than not, their intentions are good. Like their intentions are to create the best practice, to invite the better players, to, you know, to try to do these things to better the scene. The problem comes again from the lack of infrastructure that we've been given. And this is going to lead into the main talking point for this discussion for me, which is the fact that first and foremost, before anything else, and even though I'm going to get to a second point to kind of follow this up, first and foremost, the game needs ranked. Now, ranked serves a lot of different purposes. Ranked, first and foremost, is the starting point for harboring a competitive community. What this means is that anybody that's considering taking the game more seriously, even if that doesn't mean they want to go professional, even if it doesn't mean they want to compete, it's the first step to deciding as a player, hey, I'm ready to start taking this game more seriously. They step into a ranked playlist. The best part about it is just that it's a way for you to naturally and like organically track your progress and I mean, obviously that would depend on how the ranked mode is developed, but if it's anything similar to how the cups have been run, which were good, the only problem with the cups was just that they were temporary and they disappear and they restart. But if they're anything similar to how the cups were run, then that would probably be a very good long-running system where you can consistently find yourself in games and find yourself practicing against other people in your range as you progress and find, you know, your way through improving. That would be good. The best part about ranked, and this is where the discussions kind of go back and forth a little bit about what is better between ranked and custom games, is that the best part about ranked is there's no opportunity for gatekeeping, and basically meaning certain players holding other players back by not allowing them into the cliques or into the discords and things like that. And the fact that there's not really time loss. This is what I loved about the cups. When I play a scrim currently, if I die off spawn or if I don't find the best lobby, I'm basically just wasting a lot of time. And this is for, you know, for a lot of scrim players out there, professional players, you guys know what I mean. You're just wasting a lot of time trying to get into the scrims. And I mean, ultimately we all know it's just an antiquated way of doing things, and we're all just doing our best to get the best practice we can. And that's all you can do. And you know, it's nobody's fault. It's not Discord's fault. It's not, you know, the management of these Discord's fault. It's just the way that things have been set up for us currently, or not set up for us, however you want to look at it. So ranked, that would help a lot of problems initially. It would definitely give us a place where we can just play the game and consistently see ways to improve ourselves. Even if it's like a means to an end, where like at a certain point ranked is a little bit more pubby than like say customs would be, and so ultimately even being the highest rank doesn't mean that you might be the highest level of player. The highest, more consistent, more skilled players would find themselves in that situation. They would find themselves in those rankings. So you have to know that it would be working and it would do what we ultimately want it and need it to do. Now, with ranked, and this is something my point specifically that I've been pushing, I think that we need like customs need to be allowed for the player base as well, additional to ranked. And the reason for that is that custom games allow players to build their best version of practice. And This happens in every competitive game I've ever played, every competitive scene I've ever seen. You are going to want your best players, or your perception of the best players, in the practice, so that way you feel like your time is best spent, and that way your time is best spent while getting practice. I come from the Gears of War scene. If the best team out there is like Optic Gaming wants to set up scrims with another team, this is a 5v5 game, they message another team that's like on their level, in their kind of professional clique, in their professional community, and they say, hey, do you want to scrim at 7 p.m? Yeah, we'll set up a time block. They scrim. But not a lesser team wouldn't be able to message them and say, hey man, we want to scrim you guys. The Optic Gaming team is just not interested in that. Does that make sense? And so the reason I bring that up to begin with is because in competitive gaming, you're not really just given the ability to queue up or to press play and to just scrim or be invited to the Discord or the community of the best players. You have to earn that. And the way you earn that is like organically grinding the game. You show up to the open qualifiers, you place. You show up to an open LAN, you place. You consistently find your way through these leagues that pop up. You place. You keep making a name for yourself, and then over time you find your moment, and then that moment helps solidify your place in the competitive community, where you need to be, at what level you need to be in. And when you do that, you naturally start practicing and getting better and playing with better players. So there is a kind of mentality in Fortnite that I don't really like. And it seems like everybody just feels like everything should be open, and they're sick of the gatekeeping and, oh, well, damn, I'm good enough, I should be in that. And I just don't really like that, because most of the people, and I say most because I'm sure there's room for error, don't get me wrong, we're all humans. But most of the people that find themselves in the better discords, excuse my phone, most of the people that find themselves in the better discords are people that have earned their way there, or accomplished something, or done something, earned some money, qualified through something, did something to get them there. We as the players that are in these discords, the players that are looking for the best practice, we don't want to just let people buy their way in or get in, because then it just dilutes the whole process. Again, everybody's just trying to improve and have the best practice possible, but you have to, work your way up that. So to kind of wrap toward the end of the discussion, my proposal or my thoughts is that we need ranked. Ranked has to happen. We need an area, a battlegrounds for players to organically and naturally be able to find themselves consistently seeing progress across the game. That's just what we need. To follow that up, I think the best way to fine-tune practice, to get the best practice, the most consistent, be able to control it, to be able to run leagues, to let third-party companies come in, to really drive the scene, is to promote customs to the public. This would allow, the pro discords to run custom practice. This would allow third-party companies to run tournaments. This would allow for, FNPL to run a real league where they can track more than just your placement, and, and allow people to climb up that way to then make their way into the practice Discord or the pro Discord or whatever's going on, whatever infrastructure's in place once these changes happen. So my overall thoughts are, I just want to see things move in the right direction, and I'm really not blaming the nature of where we are on any of the management or any of the people that have put things in place, because everybody that has done something, PSL with Science, the merger, ESL, PSL, Pratcord, Westworld, Weston things, all of those people that have put things in place, FNPL, they're all trying to make things better, and they're all working really hard to do it. So you kind of have to appreciate what's there. I mean, I don't really care for FNPL that much, but I still appreciate that there's a place that I can just jump and, sit down and play some games, and that aren't pubs. You know what I mean? I get more out of that than I get out of pubs, and there's no ranked mode. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate it for all the discords, that are out there and actively trying to improve things. So that's just kind of my thoughts on things. I just wanted to kind of, put my words into voice, rather than just try to put a 4 little chain tweet together explaining why I think we need customs, why I think we need ranked. First and foremost, we need ranked so it'll harbor the competitive culture within our game. It'll show people that maybe you're not as good as you think, or maybe you're way better than you think, and naturally, organically, people will find their way to where they need to be. And there are a lot of really skilled players out there that aren't where they should be right now, and there's a natural process for things, and I just feel like the Fortnite competitive community is just not given the tools that we need to have some of that organic growth. But we're getting there. I hope Epic has some plans to, you know, come out with cups that are not just time-based. I mean, the cups are better than nothing, so if we do only get these temporary cups, you know, we'll definitely use those for practice. That seems like a lot of what the pro community was enjoying, was just being able to queue up and practice. It didn't matter who was in the games. You knew that if you were progressing through those cups, you were going to be finding good players. That was just the natural way of things. Again, if you were finding yourself, you know, in the higher tier games in the cups, you were doing something right. And that's really just what you need to be doing as a player, is consistently improving and improving yourself. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? You know, tweet at me. What do you think? I guess the main discussion between talking about this is customs a bad idea? I don't think it is. I think naturally it's kind of like the way that things will go, and I guess we'll see. If not, then we just need a really solid ranked mode that is reliable and consistent, so that way we can use it for you know, pretty much every bit of practice. So that way nobody's trying to circumvent the ranked mode, and nobody's not taking the ranked mode seriously. At the top level of play, ranked needs to be you know, almost damn near close to customs and scrims and things like that. So again, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? And I guess I'll see y'all in the next video.
Do you feel your bones start to shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel the fire inside of me? Do you see the sparks that I'm setting free? Does the beat take you over? You just can't leave.